Okay. Hello, everyone. I call the 2410th meeting of the Milwaukee City Council to order. This meeting is being held in person at City Hall and by video conference. The public may participate in this meeting by coming to City Hall or joining the Zoom webinar. The meeting is being broadcast live on the city's YouTube channel and Comcast Cable Channel 30 in city limits. There will be opportunities for the public to speak during this meeting. If you would like to address council, you may come to City Hall or participate via Zoom. If you are interested in speaking, please let staff know by filling out a yellow comment card for those at City Hall or emailing ocr@milwaukeeoregon.gov for those on Zoom. When it is time to take public comments, staff will monitor the comment cards, email inbox, and Zoom participant list and chat. We will take comments in the order they are received and seen. Comments may be emailed to ocr@milwaukeeoregon.gov. We ask that all Zoom participants who intend to speak label their Zoom username to show their first and last names for the record. Spanish translation services are available upon request. The public is asked to request translation and other meeting accessibility services at least 48 hours before the meeting. For more information, contact the city recorder at 503-786-7502. Servicios de traducción en español está disponible cuando sea solicitado. Se pide al público que solicite servicios de traducción y otros servicios de accesibilidad por lo menos 48 horas antes de la reunión. Para obtener más información, llama a el secretario de la ciudad a 503-786-7502. Translation services are also available in other languages. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The City of Milwaukee respectfully acknowledges that our community is located on the ancestral homeland of the Clackamas people. In 1855, the surviving members of the Clackamas signed the Willamette Valley Treaty, also known as the Kalapuya Etc. Treaty, with the federal government in good faith. We offer our respect and gratitude to the indigenous people of this land. And now we have a few announcements. Public comment on the east segment of the Washington Monroe Street Greenway project closes on September 20th. If you haven't had a chance to review the current designs and provide feedback and would like to, please visit Engage Milwaukie. And the link is there, engage.milwaukeeoregon.gov. Learn how the city works at the next Milwaukie Leadership Academy. Registration is currently open and the class is free to participate. Evening sessions occur once per month from October of this year through June of 2025, taking December off. The Arts Committee is currently seeking 3 new sculptures for the sculpture garden next to the historic City Hall building. Applications are due by September 20th. I believe that is Thursday. Volunteer to help remove, maybe it's Friday. I guess it's Friday. Volunteer to help remove ivy and other invasive plants while picking up litter on Elk Rock Island on Saturday, September 21st from 9:30 a.m. to noon. Volunteers are asked to meet at 19th and Sparrow at 9:30 a.m. to get started. The Letting Library's Fall Author Series continues Wednesday, September 22nd. Okay, September 22nd is not a Wednesday, but at 2 p.m., I think it's maybe Sunday, September 22nd at 2 p.m., featuring Elizabeth Chai. The series continues through September and October. All events take place at the Letting Library Community Room. The Letting Library's Fall Author Series continues, this is a duplicate. Okay. Join the downtown community for a celebration of art, music, and food at the final first Friday of 2024 on October 4th from 5 to 8 p.m. For more information about each of these events and others, please visit the city's homepage at milwaukeeoregon.gov or call 503-786-7555. We have a couple of more events to note, and the city recorder has his hat on, so I guess he's going to start with the next event.
Just want to wish everyone a happy National Register to Vote Day. We have stickers on the dais for council members. That say National Register to Vote Day. And just a reminder that Oregonians who are eligible to vote can register before, need to register by October 15th to participate in the November 5th election.
Thank you.
And to clarify, I apologize with the typo in the script. It is Sunday, September 22nd.
Sunday, September 22nd at the library is that author at 2 p.m. Okay. And our Equity Inclusion Coordinator, Gabriela Santoyo Gutierrez, she's going to be getting up and down a few times tonight, I believe. She's got a few things on the agenda, but first she's going to tell us about this event coming up in this room.
Hi, everyone. Buenas tardes. Thank you for the introduction, Mayor Beatty. So this dance, the Ballet Papalo Mexican folk dance performance is organized by our amazing Milwaukie Library staff and could not have been possible without the sponsorship of the Friends of the Letting Library. And just for details, their performance will take place on Saturday, October 12th, starting at 2 p.m. And the location will be here in this very room of council chambers. Everyone's welcome to attend. It's free admission. And if you scan the QR code up there, it'll take you to our city's page with more details about the event. But just to give a short overview of the group, I believe this is the first year we're partnering with Ballet Papalo that they perform at the city of Milwaukie. This is a group led by Oregon youth whom have performed traditional Mexican folkloric dance since 2003. And their mission is to share authentic Mexican dance and culture with the people of Oregon and the Pacific Northwest and to contribute to a more harmonious society. So please attend. And if I may, I'm going to translate in Spanish really quickly.
Absolutely.
So este evento de Baile Papalo está organizado para nuestro equipo y empleados de la biblioteca. Se va a tomar aquí en este lugar el sábado 12 de octubre a las 2 de la tarde. So, por favor, todos en el cuarto. Y este edificio va a ser aquí, que traigan sus familias. Gracias.
Gracias, Gabriela. Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, we got some updates. So in partnership with our Equity Steering Committee, and thanks to grant efforts by MR City Manager, and Dan Harris, who's our incredible Events and Emergency Management Coordinator, we launched the first year of our Milwaukie Community Events Fund. This fall, our inaugural recipients are Spoken Word Books and Vida Latin Bistros, both of which are local businesses located in downtown Milwaukie. And just to share a little bit about the events, Spoken Word will hold 3 evening events that are titled Own Voices, and these will focus on underrepresented authors whose work helped guide discussions on disability visibility, undocumented Americans, and tribal histories. The second recipient is Vida's Dia de los Muertos event, and I'm already dressed and ready to celebrate, but a little too early. This will take place November 1st and November 2nd. And will feature traditional food, decorations, and entertainment from Mexico and Peru. In both specific times, because they're not our events, we're just sponsoring. More details will come soon. But if you're interested in applying for the Milwaukie Community Events Fund, application submissions are always open and are reviewed twice a year on July 31st and January 31st. So more details on the program and how to apply is on the city's webpage. And Dan Harris will also be here November 5th to provide some more updates on our winter events.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Gabriela. All right, here's my hasty haiku. Today, as our recorder noted, it is National Voter Registration Day. So today is the day, Election Day in 6 weeks, register to vote. You don't have to register today, but you have until October 15th in Oregon. So we have a later registration date than in a lot of states. But please do register to vote. I read a thing that the state of Oregon, so you can also register online. It's just oregonvotes.gov. I read something on their online materials today that 1 out of 4 people doesn't know if they're registered. So you can also go on there and find out if you're registered, find out if they have your latest address, if you moved and you're not sure if you updated your address or not. Do all those things so that you're able to vote when ballots come out next month. So thank you. And we have we're coming back to a tradition that didn't happen for a year, but we're excited to have it back, which is recognizing the outstanding Milwaukie High School student each month. Principal Kim Kellogg is here with the first student, Guadalupe Barrera.
We're just going to rearrange just a hair.
Okay. Okay.
Perfect.
So welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. It's wonderful to be back with all of you. I missed coming here to honor and to highlight some of our students. So it's wonderful to be back. And I couldn't have asked for a more wonderful student to start us off, and that is Guadalupe Barrera. And I just want to give a little bit about Guadalupe in our school. Wonderful, wonderful student, very heavily involved. He has a 3.9 GPA, is working towards his honors diploma, has already earned the state of Oregon biliteracy seal. And you have to, in order to earn the biliteracy seal, you have to score a certain level in the reading, writing, speaking with Spanish and English, and meeting that criteria. It's pretty, it's an amazing honor to be able to earn that. So he'll have a medal at graduation, and he'll have on there with that as well. He's also a member of National Honor Society, and they spend a lot of time volunteering and work hours as well there. And I wanted to highlight some of the classes that Guadalupe is taking, because I think too, he's taking classes at Saban Schellenberg and working with youth and children, more of the business management and accounting. But also within at Milwaukie High School has been an elementary tutor. So he'll go into one of our local elementary schools and support our students. He's been a peer tutor in the school, and then also has taken AP Biology, AP Spanish, AP Literature and Composition, and taking pre-calculus right now. Yes. So this is awesome. So not only with kind of the pieces with all the things academically and the variety of pieces that Guadalupe is involved in, is highly involved in Ascension. And that is one of our student leadership groups. We put together some pictures, Valentina and I, about kind of the pieces. In the center on the top is more of our parade we do at homecoming through the city of Milwaukie. And Ascension had kind of had their banners and going through and just highlighting our students and our culture and our heritage, and honoring our students. And then on both sides on the top are kind of different events where we had with Posada, which is a wonderful event that we have that, multi-generational with, the younger students, our high school students, our parents, and our grandparents that have come and participated. I think the first year we had over 100 family people at the event. And it was just such a rich cultural event and bringing together family. And on the my right, probably your left, if you're looking at that, is Noche Latina that we do in the fall. And we bring out our community resources, and also our students performed, and our past students who had a musical group, and they're helping to set that up. And then at the bottom, your right, my left, is more of our assembly that we had, and we brought people in, our students. We got our whole community involved in the assembly. And the middle is kind of where Noche Latina, where our students were performing. And then I always have with the bottom right with our piñata, which is always fun, but kind of can be dangerous. That one anyway. But just want to talk about all the things that, you have done and highlighted, and to build that community within our school. And that's been a wonderful part of you and what you've contributed. So I want to, some of the highlights here. Lupe has consistently demonstrated outstanding dedication and involvement within our school community. Lupe is a driving force behind the success of our student union fundraisers. His leadership and communication skills have been instrumental in fostering a deeper understanding and appreciation of what Ascension represents. And Lupe Barrera exemplifies the qualities of a student of the month through his unwavering dedication, leadership, positive impact on our school and community. And I went at Valentina because Valentina works with Guadalupe a lot. She prepared just to kind of what the highlights about Guadalupe. So you gotta push the button.
Push the button, get the red. There you go.
Hello. So for me, it's an honor to speak of Lupe, honestly, without getting emotional. But Lupe has consistently demonstrated outstanding dedication and involvement within our school community, particularly in his contributions to Ascension, which is our school's Latino affinity group. Lupe has played a key role in organizing and executing Latino Day of the Dead Assembly, and these cultural enriching events have been highlighted for both, not just the participants, but our audience as well. It is clear that his passion for celebrating and sharing our heritage is the heart to the success of these events. Beyond the cultural events, Lupe has been instrumental in leading our students' fundraising initiatives. And his dedication with his ability to inspire others has been a driving force behind the success of these efforts. Additionally, Lupe has been the initiative to serve as a table facilitator during various events, ensuring that attendees were well informed about Ascension and its mission. His leadership and communication skills have fostered a deeper understanding and appreciation for what Ascension stands for. And again, Lupe Barrera exemplifies an amazing quality through his dedication, leadership, and positive impact in our school community, and I am honored to see him here.
Thank you very much. Lupe, do you want to say a few words? And yeah.
I just want to say it's an honor to be here. It's something unexpected, something I'm honored to do at our school, and I'm happy, excited, nervous a little.
Well, thank you for being here, and thank you for being such a contributor to the school community. Are you a senior? Are you a junior?
Yeah, I'm a senior right now.
You're a senior,
Yeah.
Okay. And do you know what you plan to do after you graduate?
Yeah, I'm thinking about working in the education field.
Yeah.
Probably like a school social worker, or helping kids with English as a second language. And that's like what most people study, go to college for.
Great. Great. Well, we usually let each of the counselors ask you a question or just chat with you for a few minutes. So I'm going to start with Counselor Anderson.
Tú ya puedes hablar español, ¿no?
Sí, sí.
¿Por qué está tomando AP Spanish? In all seriousness, I just want to say it is so inspiring to see all of the work that you're doing in your school, just to like create community and to celebrate your culture and the culture of all the folks there at Milwaukie High. You've got a really bright future ahead of you, and I'm excited to see where you go. So thank you.
Thank you.
Lupe, you just started a new semester?
Yeah, we just
Yeah. So I saw that your GPA was 3.9, so you got this semester to raise your GPA. And we're expecting that. We're going to get a report from Kim and later. But no, that's, you tread where I never did. So congratulations to you. And it's interesting that you chose this, or you're thinking about going to this field about social worker in high schools, because it kind of sounds like you're already doing it. So you're just kind of adding to that skill set, and it's certainly a really needed issue in schools and in our community. So thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Counselor?
Lupe, it's an honor to have you here, and the honor should be ours considering everything that you've done and what you continue to do. So I really appreciate you being here and just what you, I mean, the thing that sticks out for me here is just the leadership and communication skills, because that's super important, as you know, especially in our world today, and what it'll be when you're ready to potentially be up here leading the way. So I appreciate everything you've done and what you continue to do and passing it forward, paying it forward, not waiting till you get to a comfort zone and then saying, okay, now I'm ready to pass what I've learned down. You're doing it as you're learning too. So that's very rare quality to have in people. So I appreciate you doing that and involving your fellow classmates to step up and be leaders as well. My question is, what was the most meaningful part of being a part of Ascension?
Yeah, the most meaningful part was being able to express my culture, showing others, also getting to learn others' cultures, how different everyone's is different, every culture is different. And something meaningful was getting to do events, assemblies, showing the whole school, the teachers and everything, what we do, what our parents used to do, the culture.
That's awesome. And a 3.9, man, I hope my kid can do that.
Lupe, it's so nice to meet you, and I'm really excited that you're a part of our community in general, not just the school community, but thank you for everything that you bring to Milwaukie. And I'm looking at your family behind you, like, what amazing support and love. And it just makes me so happy to see that your whole family came to support you today. And I think that, it shows that love and that caring comes through in the work that you do in the schools. And I'm so excited for your next chapter, to see what you do. I think we're going to be reading about you in the paper. And, as Councillor Khosrowbadi said, you'll probably be up here if you want to. It's a type of work that you're going into that's really hard, that requires a lot of heart and a lot of caring for people. And even though we've just met you, I can tell that that's exactly the type of person you are. So thank you.
Oh, thank
Congratulations.
you. Thank you.
Yes, I was going to also mention the family. It is great to see such a big family come out to support you and obviously be cheerleaders for you. So that is great. And that will stand you in good stead as you move into college, because it's important to stay connected. And I wanted to ask you, was there any single thing, memory from your years at Milwaukie High School that you will take with you into adulthood?
Yeah, probably one of our assemblies that we did, I think 2 years ago. We celebrated our Hispanic Heritage Month, and then we were doing dances in front of the school. Our club was able to represent one of my parents' culture, tradition called los chinelos. And then,
Called what?
Chinelos.
Okay.
Chinelos, yeah. And being able to dance in front of the school.
Yeah.
And that was something I will forever have him.
That's great. That's great. Well, I hope you've I mean, they alluded to maybe you could be up here, and there's a challenge inherent in that because Counselor Anderson is our youngest counselor, but you could run even early. You could be our youngest counselor in a year or two. So there you go. So I have a proclamation to read to you, and I'll give you a copy afterwards. So the City of Milwaukie is proud to recognize for outstanding student achievement in academics, civic engagement, and extracurricular activities at Milwaukie High School, Guadalupe Barrera. Let it be known to all that on this 17th day of September 2024, the City Council of the City of Milwaukie, a municipal corporation in the county of Clackamas in the state of Oregon, recognized this student as an excellent example of the bright future of this community and nation. So thank you, Guadalupe.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay, but you can also leave. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. All right, while we'll let people filter out and Scott's repositioning the dais or the table for people to talk.
Thank you.
And I think Gabriella is coming back up for Latinx and Hispanic Heritage Month. And she's accompanied by another educator.
Thank you. I was about to say, President Massey, you had to share with them they had the option to go.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I think eventually we have the proclamation on the, okay, perfect. So just before we get started, I just want to say that I'm also very emotional about the turnout for Lupe. Like as Latina and Latinx individuals, like our family may not always be able to physically attend and support our accomplishments, but our accomplishments go beyond our own. That crowd and that familial support, that is a visual representation. And I'm glad we got to witness that today. And I know my family's here behind me as well, either watching behind YouTube today, but are always with me and Nikki as well. So as I transition us to the proclamation, and as a daughter of first-gen Mexican immigrants and someone who identifies as Mexican-American and Latina, and as we continue into the proclamation, you'll hear me interchangeably use Latinx and Latine for gender neutral and gender inclusion purposes. But I'm honored to represent and read out the Hispanic Heritage Month celebration proclamation. And with me today, as you said, our amazing educator is an Equity Steering Committee member, Nikki Storm, who will share a little bit about herself here in a minute. But I wanted to provide some context for this proclamation. It is the Hispanic Heritage Month is celebrated month-long from September 15th to October 15th in honor of Hispanic and Latin and Latinx countries' independence anniversary dates, in which many celebrate and coming together in community and connecting through delicious foods, music, and cultural dances. And additionally, this proclamation acknowledges and appreciates the tremendous impact at the social, political, and economic levels that the Hispanic and Latinx community members have contributed and sacrificed for the progress of their families and for this country. And for folks who weren't aware, according to the 2020 U.S. Census, Hispanic and Latina populations make up the second largest racial and ethnic group in the U.S. And so now I'll pass it over to Nikki if you want to share a few words.
You. I'm so honored to be here today. Thank you. I am an Equity Steering Committee member, and we were just talking, and within that family, I saw one of my old students.
Oh, wow.
And so I didn't get a chance to go connect with him, but that sort of brings me to the whole point of why I do this work. I have been working with Black and Brown families for 14 years. The most current, I was a teacher at Lot Whitcomb Elementary, Title I, one of the most impacted financially schools in the North Clackamas School District, almost 100% title, 100% free and reduced lunch. And my work has guided me to this place where I feel compelled and honored to continue this work of equity and really centering the work on students and community. And that's really been my sort of driving force. I also identify as a Latina. I'm Mexican and Puerto Rican. And my mom, also Latina, also was an educator in the North Clackamas School District. So I feel like this work continues. I am currently working at another school, Ardenwald, that is also Title I, and am working with a lot of the staff to bring in some information and rich sort of cultural understandings and sharing with them the importance of the recognition of the Hispanic community. The community that I work with now is predominantly Caucasian, so it is my goal to sort of bring more richness to the community at Ardenwald and at large. So thank you so much for letting me speak, and I just feel honored to be part of this whole event, and love the work that we continue to do with our Equity Steering Committee.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you for being here, Nikki. So do one of you guys want to read the proclamation? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'd love to read it. And for the second year in Spanish, if that is okay with all of you. Scott, are we have that available? You're amazing. Okay. Go ahead and follow along if you can. Considerando que cada año los Estados Unidos observa el Mes Nacional de la Herencia Hispana, celebrando la cultura, la herencia y las innumerables contribuciones que aquellos cuyos antepasados se extiende a España, México, el Caribe, América Central y América del Sur. Y considerando que el Mes Nacional de la Herencia Hispana comenzó como una observación de una semana declarada en 1968 y creció a convertirse en una celebración de un mes en 1988. Y ahora se celebra del 15 de septiembre al 15 de octubre cada año. Y considerando que el 15 de septiembre es una fecha significativa porque marca el aniversario de la independencia de los países latinoamericanos de Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras y Nicaragua. Además, México y Chile celebran sus días de independencia el 16 y 18 de septiembre, respectivamente, y considerando que celebramos el mes de la herencia hispana para mostrar nuestra gratitud por los logros, la inspiración y el servicio que nuestras comunidades hispanas y hispanos y latinos ofrecen todos los días a nuestra ciudad, región y país. Y considerando que las personas hispanas, latinos, latinas y latinas ayudan a impulsar nuestra economía de pequeñas empresas como trabajadores, dueños de empresas y empresarios, enriquen nuestro ambiente académico como maestros, profesores o ingenieros. También participan en el buen gobierno y el mejoramiento de nuestra sociedad. Asumen roles de liderazgo en el movimiento laboral y garantizan nuestra salud y nuestra comunidad como enfermeras, médicos, cuidadores y trabajadores de cuidando niños. Y considerando que esta ciudad desea reconocer el mes que comienza el 15 de septiembre y termina el 15 de octubre como una oportunidad para reflexionar sobre las enormes contribuciones, celebrar la cultura, las tradiciones y la diversidad y apoyar a las comunidades hispana y latina. Ahora, por lo tanto, yo, Lisa Beiri, alcaldesa de la ciudad de Milwaukie, una corporación municipal en el condado de Clackamas, en el estado de Oregon, proclamo por la presente que del 15 de septiembre al 15 de octubre de 2024 será el mes de la herencia hispana en Milwaukie. En testimonio y con el consentimiento del Consejo Municipal de Milwaukie, firmo el presente el 17 de septiembre de 2024.
Thank you. Thank you both. And for people who were watching, both the English and the Spanish are in our packet online, so we're not going to read the English, but you can find it in the City Council packet if you need that. And I want to thank you ladies for being here. And I did want to mention, this does not have anything to do with Hispanic Heritage Month, but last year I had the pleasure of going to read to Miss Storm's third grade class, and they were a tough crowd, let me tell you. The first thing out the door, first comment out the gate was asking me about why we ban fireworks. And, but they were really just a smart, fun group. I really enjoyed it. And I recently learned that we have a first grade class coming to tour City Hall. And I just wanted to plant that little seed in case Miss Storm wanted to bring her third graders too.
Give a little context. I think we were about.
Nikki, turn the mic.
Oh, sorry. I think we were about a week or two from spring break. Was the end of the year.
It was the day before spring break.
It was the day before spring break. And so I have to say that you just came in, you were so brave, and I'd given them there was a lot of front loading going on. And so I just want to say thank you. And it's just it was such an awesome experience for them to really connect with the person that's in charge of where we live. That's kind of how I framed it. And I would love to have you back, and any of you in my classroom, and really keep that connection going. And we'd love to see you again this year.
Ardenwa Elementary did reach out to everyone last year about reading, and hopefully they'll do that again.
will do
But
that
you can
again.
reach out to me personally.
We will do
I'm
that
happy to
again
do that.
this year.
Yeah.
And so it's just really a great opportunity just to see if you don't have, even if you do have children in the elementary school system, you don't really ever get a chance to see behind the scenes and see how things are day to day in a classroom. But we just had such a ball, and it was really one of the highlights. At the end of the day, we have something called Closing Circle, and I ask, what did you like about today? And I would say 9 out of 10 kids said meeting the mayor.
Yeah.
So it was pretty awesome and impactful. So thank you
Great.
again. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you. I'm sure we all look forward to being invited again this year. So thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, and we have another proclamation, but our presenter is not here yet. He's expecting to arrive anytime, but we're going to skip the Mid-Autumn Festival and go on to Constitution Week, because I believe that presenter is here. Nancy McCrary with the Daughters of the American Revolution. Thank you for joining us. And I meant to mention earlier, today is, it's not only National Voter Registration Day, it probably is designated as National Voter Registration Day because it is the anniversary of the day the Constitution was adopted in 237 years ago, I believe. So, yeah.
Yes, thank you for having me. The Daughters of the American Revolution is a service organization involving community service, preserving history, education, as well as honoring our veterans. And it's got a little thing written up here. And yes, September 17th, 1787, 237 years ago, was when it was signed. In 1955, the Daughters of the American Revolution adopted a project to promote the observance of the U.S. Constitution with a Memorial Week beginning on the anniversary of the signing of this document, September 17th. DAR chapters, committees, and members were encouraged to study, teach, and discuss the U.S. Constitution. They were also encouraged to invite their governors and mayors to issue proclamations celebrating the Constitution. Constitution Week was officially declared by President Eisenhower on August 2nd, 1956. During colonial and early days of our country, church bells, firehouse bells, and town and city hall bells were used to call people together to alert them to some important announcement or event. Bells called the people of Philadelphia together to hear the Declaration of Independence read publicly for the first time on July 4th, 1776. Then again, just over 11 years later, on September 17th, bells were used to call people to hear the first public reading of our new Constitution. The most significant statements they heard were in the preamble of the Constitution, which outlined the organization of our republic and the rule of law that would hold the new country together. Many have memorized these 52 words, finding them just as profound today as when first written. And I just really like to thank you for signing this proclamation for us. I think it's pretty important.
I agree. Thank you for coming in and thank you for proposing the proclamation. We've done it with the DAR several times before, so it's great. I can read the proclamation or you can read the proclamation, however you want to proceed.
Well, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas, and this begins with the preamble language she was just alluding to. Whereas we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, did ordain and establish a Constitution for the United States of America on September 17th, 1787. And whereas today marks the 237th anniversary of the adoption of the Constitution by a convention of the states, and whereas the Constitution, as the foundation upon which our democracy is based, stands as a testament to the tenacity of Americans throughout history to maintain their liberties, freedoms, and inalienable rights. And whereas exercising our ability to vote is a right, a responsibility, a celebration, and also a way of protecting our constitutional rights. Now therefore, I, Lisa Beatty, Mayor of the City of Milwaukie, a municipal corporation in the County of Clackamas in the state of Oregon, do hereby proclaim September 17th through 23rd, 2024 as Constitution Week in the City of Milwaukie, and do commend its observance by all citizens.
It's awesome.
Great. Thank
So
you.
much.
Yep, thank you.
It's great.
And our other presenter hasn't shown up, so I think we're going to go ahead and move forward with the first item under special reports, which is a report from West Director Greg Geist of Clackamas County Water and Environment Services, who comes every year and kind of gives us an annual update about what's going on at WES and what's going on at the WES operated plant here on the Milwaukie waterfront, among other things.
All right, thank you, Mayor Beatty and councilors, and nice to meet you, Councilor Anderson. I think this is our 5th year doing these annual reports. So for those of you unfamiliar with WES, I will go through kind of an overview of who we are, what we do, and hopefully why we matter. Some of the work that we've done over the past year and what we're looking forward to coming up. And of course, we'll talk about rates. So let's get to it. All right, I won't read all this, but I do want to read our vision. We came up with a new vision statement a couple of years ago. Be a collaborative partner in building a resilient, clean water future where all people benefit and rivers thrive. And our statement before that was something along the lines of, we want to be recognized as an industry leader providing X, Y, and Z services. And it was very us focused. And this one resonates with me, the collaborative partnership. I think we've been walking that walk for a long time, and I like seeing it reflected in our vision. All right, next slide. These are our focus areas, basically clean water, public health, fiscal responsibility. Map of our service area. We basically serve about 200,000 people, all the way from the farthest reaches of Happy Valley down to Milwaukie, South Oregon City, Gladstone, Westland, and kind of everything in between in the urbanized area of Clackamas County. We provide different services in different areas, and I'll talk a little bit more about that when we talk about rates. But yeah, that's kind of it. We operate, next slide. We have actually 5 what we call water resource recovery facilities. Kellogg being one of them here in Milwaukie, our Tri-City plant in Oregon City. And then we've got Hoodland. We serve about 900 people up on Mount Hood. Boring, which has a small system there, and a large on-site septic system kind of out in the middle of out Redland Road in the county. So 23 pump stations, and we treat about 7 billion gallons of wastewater per year. And at our Kellogg facility and our Tri-City facility, we take what goes down your toilet and we make 3 things. We make clean water that goes back out to the river for other uses. We make biosolids, which is a natural fertilizer that we truck out to Eastern Oregon and use on agricultural fields. And we make electricity that we use to offset our power consumption at our facilities. At our Tri-City facility, we just installed an upgrade to what we call our cogeneration machine, cogeneration unit, that allows us to make up to 50% of the power that we use to treat the wastewater that comes into the facility. And if you've ever been there, you know it's a large industrial complex. 300, just more by the numbers, we got 358 miles of pipe that we own and operate. As you well know, Milwaukie owns and operates their own collection systems and pump stations. So that does not include Milwaukie. And we're very confident in the 19,001 surface water catch basins. Just kidding, we're not. The budget looks enormous, $288 million. Our actual operating budget is about $24 million a year. That's the people, the parts, the chemicals, the electricity, things like that. Our electricity bill is about $1 million a year. Just our structure, we are governed by the Board of County Commissioners, and we have a really robust 20-member citizen advisory committee that includes elected representatives from all of the cities that we serve, and then a cross-section of folks across the community. Thank you for Councilor Khosrowshahi being a member of that, as well as we have a citizen, Tony Fields, who's a Milwaukie ratepayer representative on that advisory committee. Highly functioning group. One of the things that we've been working on, well, since I became the director at West, is developing long-term master plans. We need to understand the condition of our infrastructure and what our future needs are, looking out 20 or 40 years. And so we've done that, and these are just examples of that. The Willamette Facilities Plan, that is a combination of our Tri-City and our Kellogg wastewater treatment plants, looking at those very things. We have a 5-year capital improvement plan that currently is $260 million worth of investments. And we have a plan we know what we need to build, when we need to build it, and how we're going to pay for it. I'll get more into that. So looking at Milwaukie, one of the things that we are doing is doing a long-term roll into having what we call rate harmonization. So if you're a West customer and you receive wholesale wastewater treatment services, which Milwaukie does, you will pay the same as Oregon City or Gladstone or Westland, because that's what we do for them. If you're a retail customer, where we provide not only the treatment, but the conveyance and collection, you will pay the same. And so you'll see Milwaukee's rates are very flat. We're not expecting rate increases until about 2031 for Milwaukie, and I'll explain why that makes some sense. Looking at our rate profile, we are looking at, these are the different services that we provide, and you can see that there's a component of debt service there in the yellow. You are rate zone 2 wholesale. So we don't, again, expect to see any rate increases for the next 5 years as we retire that debt. So the cities, the other wholesale cities, Westland, Gladstone, Oregon City, did not incur that, or not paying that debt component that came from construction of a membrane bioreactor facility on our Tri-City campus. So their rates are marching up. They will merge in 2031. So Milwaukie will be virtually flat until 2031, which is kind of pleasant. If you look at the rate zone 2 retail, that's what we charge our customers, where we provide both the conveyance and collection as well as the wastewater treatment. And you can see what the other cities charge. So the gray component on Milwaukie, far to the right, is what we are currently charging for wholesale treatment services. That includes that debt component, and that's why it's a little bit higher than Westland, Gladstone, and Oregon City. Also, look at the monthly average rate of $60.55. And think about how it compares to, the previous slide. So we're expecting our rates in 2031 to be $60.20. So our rates in 2031 will be what the kind of regional average is today, which we think is pretty darn competitive. Next slide. I know Councilor Khosrowshahi in particular is really interested in affordability, and so are we. We have a strategic plan that has a couple goals in there for our low-income discount program. Our initiative is to maintain annually a mid-range or low impact rating for total annual cost of wastewater services relative to the lowest quintile, the lowest 1/5 of household income. And we've committed by 2025, we will update our low-income program. And the nut to crack is trying to get to renters. It's just very difficult if they're not actually paying their sewer bill to get the money to them instead of the landlord. So we're trying. Some of the major sewer capital projects, I'll go into some detail about these, the ones that are, I think, most relevant to Milwaukie, but you can see we have some very large projects ongoing and on the horizon. We've done a lot, and I've been here in past years. We did a $17 million upgrade to Milwaukie over the past 5 years that concluded about a year and a half ago. But we still got more to do there. In 2023, we completed a Kellogg aeration improvement project. So the aeration basins, if you've ever been there, where the kind of the roiling brown water is. We made some major upgrades to the sensors and controls on that allow us to be much more precise with how much oxygen and therefore how much air we blow up through that in order to make the process work, which is going to be much more efficient from an energy efficiency standpoint. And we really rehabilitated our secondary clarifiers. So the large circles in the bottom middle of that picture have been completely concrete redone, all the mechanicals redone. The plant's looking really good, but we have more to do. In the next 5 years for our 5-year capital improvement plan, we're going to be replacing our ultraviolet disinfection unit there, which is the last part of the process before the wastewater goes out to the river. Interestingly, when it was installed in the 80s, it was the very first UV disinfection system in the state of Oregon. So, but it's well beyond its useful life. We like UV because it was innovative because it doesn't use chemicals to disinfect.
Can I just ask before you go off this slide? So you mentioned the clarifiers. Those are the two on the left, lower left there in the picture. One of them they've been working on this year. So that's ongoing work. That's not completed.
It is done. It is done now.
Oh, is it done now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we did some minor maintenance work this year, but it is done.
Okay.
Yeah, we sequenced those. We'll do one year because we need to take it offline for several months, and then the following year do the other one.
Okay.
One project that I'm very proud of, actually the last time I was in this room was in front of the Planning Commission getting approval for the remodel of our Kellogg Administration Building. We're expected, and we're very near completion of the design on that, and we're expecting to start construction in early 2025. And just FYI, we will have a community room associated with that will have a capacity of 40 to 50. So we really hope that we could get some community events and participation and offer that service to the community in Milwaukie. This is about the third year of again, a collaborative partnership. Our inflow and infiltration reduction program, where Wes will pay 33% of projects that Milwaukie takes up in their collection systems that essentially makes the pipes tighter and doesn't allow groundwater or rainwater to get into the sewer pipes. That belongs in stormwater pipes, not sewer pipes. So we think it's a really wise investment to do that rather than to build additional treatment capacity Kellogg, that's not really an option, or at our Tri-City facility. And I'm happy to say that the Waverly Heights Sewer Reconfiguration Project is now on that list, and it's expected to be constructed in the summer of 2025. So again, collaborative partnership. This is another important one. So right now we have a force main, essentially a pressurized pipe that's 20 inches in diameter that takes off from about the Carmax, Lowe's area and brings that flow along 205 down to our Tri-City treatment plant. And what that allows us to do is to keep Kellogg from overflowing or from being overloaded or from needing expansion. We're working on a project now to complete a 30-inch force main next to that one that will give us capacity to protect Kellogg essentially and to bring all that future growth that's happening in Happy Valley down to our Tri-City facility in Oregon City. So that's an important project. We're also doing an outfall right now. Hopefully, maybe some of you have heard about. It's a 9-foot diameter tunnel boring machine. The industry tradition is to name tunnel boring machines. And so we had community involvement. We had 650 entries. And the winner was Clackamas. Chuck Boris was kind of my favorite, but yeah, we're having a lot of fun with it. And we started digging about a week ago, and we're about 400 feet towards the river, and we've got about a half mile to go. And we're going to be pulling that out of the river probably right around Thanksgiving. And then we'll be back in water next summer to install the in-stream diffusers and equipment there. I've talked to you folks about our Three Creeks natural area, which is adjacent to Clackamas Community College campus. Just want to let you know, we're still working on that. We're designing it. We did get the grant from Metro, and we will, I don't have a timeline on that one. I know we're in design right now, but hopefully next year we will be near construction. And again, in the spirit of collaborative partnership, we're working with a whole bunch of people on that project, including several from the Milwaukie area, highlighted in yellow. We had a lot of fun. I didn't get to, I was out of town for Porch Fest, but we had over 100 people at our facility, and the band was Danda Marimba Band. We love doing stuff like that. And you may have also seen us at the Watershed Discovery Days at Mill Park, where we did, we partnered with Johnston Creek Watershed Council and picked up trash with our partners at Solve. We've had about a 5-year relationship now with Solve, where we do a summer waterways cleanup series. The end of the year event is October 3rd, and that's going to be at High Rocks Park. And we're always looking to sponsor or participate in community events like these. So if there are, if you have ideas, please let us know. We want to be out in the community. We want to be sponsoring things. We want to get involved and engage with the community. So this final one, this was actually part of an internal, or kind of an internal comment that I made talking about how the different parts of West all need to work together. But the more I looked at it, it's really much more broad. That's us. You know, it's the partnerships with the cities, with the nonprofits, with the drinking water providers, with our customers. That's what it takes to solve the clean water puzzle. And you may not be surprised to say that we think that we need to do that through collaborative partnerships. So look forward to more of that. I'm happy to answer any questions.
People have questions for Greg? Councilor Massey, Council President Massey?
That was a very good presentation. Thank you. What's on the horizon for?
What's a what?
What's on the horizon, technology-wise, for Wes?
Well, actually, we are on the forefront of technology with our membrane bioreactor facility that was constructed in 2011. It is still the pinnacle of clean water technology. If I had, and usually I bring it, but since we're mostly talking about Kellogg, a sample of the effluent, a bottle of the effluent, you can't tell the difference between it and drinking water. I think more and more, higher levels of treatment. I mean, the future is more regulation, more stringent regulation, new technologies. Nutrient removal is going to be a big thing in the next probably 10 years. Those are going to be some of the challenges, but like I said, we're anticipating those from both a regulatory and an engineering standpoint, and we're well poised to meet those challenges.
Thank you.
Does the membrane technology pull out PFAS?
No.
No. Okay. I was involved in, I remember attending discussions when Wes was looking to put that in, and it was definitely the state of the art at the time. So it's interesting that it's still the state of the art, 13 years later.
You know, I shouldn't have said no so quickly, because if the PFAS is attached to any kind of particulate, then yes, it would.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. And we had, just FYI, we have sampled for PFAS, the forever chemicals, in our influent, in our effluent, in our biosolids, and we are thoroughly average for the industry. We don't have any big sources of PFAS. It's really just people washing their rainproof jackets and their
Teflon
cans and things like that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess that's good news. Councilor Anderson?
Forgive me for a pretty silly question, but as I've gone door to door in the community, I've heard more than once that we have really bad drinking water and people complain about it. What is it that makes some water taste better in different systems than others, and what could we do?
He's not responsible for
I'm not a
drinking
drinker.
water.
No. Well, I'll save my question.
That's a Peter Passarelli question.
Okay, take it back.
It's the mineral content that happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard complaints about that too, and about the mineral content, and that's all stuff to have a conversation with Peter about. Yeah. Other questions?
Greg, thank you. I have a question about interactions with schools. I'm thinking about Sabin Schellenberg and the career path of going into the treatment industry. So what kind of partnerships do you have?
Well, we're in schools all the time, but only within really our service area. But I don't know that we've gone into schools in Milwaukie. We also partner with Clackamas Community College. We have an internship program. We have a scholarship there. We provide what we call a short school. That's an annual event where people come from all over the state, and it's hosted at Clackamas Community College. I could go on, but yeah, I mean, we've literally restructured our operators series so that we can literally bring somebody in off the streets and march them all the way up to the highest level of operator. And we will continue to invest in the Clackamas Community College program, which is, as of today, is the only one in the state that is a formal certification process for water and wastewater treatment technology.
To follow up on the mention of Sabin Schellenberg, so that is a technical training school that's part of the North Clackamas. It's not in Milwaukie, but Milwaukie kids go there, but it's the wider North Clackamas School District. So it includes a lot of the people for whom you supply more than just wholesale treatment. So it may be something to try to tap into.
Let me look into it. We did do a project, I think it was 2 years ago, with CASE, the Clackamas Academy of Industrial Sciences, which is a high school in Oregon City, where we actually made one of our large construction projects part of their curriculum. So it was a partnership with the West engineering staff, the construction contractor, and the design engineer. And we actually went into the classroom, they developed curriculum, how much, if we dig a hole this big and this deep, and how much volume we're going to have to remove that, that was a lot of fun. But yeah, we need to do more stuff like that. So if there's more opportunities, I'm all ears.
Great.
No questions, just comments, because, obviously I'm on the West Advisory Committee, so I've seen this before. I just wanted to compliment you guys on your partnership with us. The work that since being on that, just the commitment you have to the community and to the work that you do and to the cities, you guys really are true partners. And I do appreciate that, because I know that sometimes it can be tricky working with governments and having these relationships, but you guys have been very good and treated Milwaukie very fairly. And I appreciate the work that your staff put into and with the rates and Milwaukie, not having to worry about that, and also working with Brenda Durbin in the back there and trying to figure out how we get those savings to renters. So I just, you guys are proactive partners, and you're really trying to solve these issues, and even issues that aren't part of Wes's scope. You try to be a partner in that. So I appreciate that very much. And I still think my name that I chose for the boring machine was better. I chose Al Bohr. I really sticking to that, but we'll go with Clackamas, I guess. Right?
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
We try hard, and it's not just me, it's everyone in our organization. We're committed to that.
It looks like the city manager was.
I just wanted to quickly chime in and thank Greg and thank Alexa for being here. And just to piggyback on what Councilor Koster just said, the great partnership. You guys have been awesome. Even that Porch Fest thing, we went out to Milwaukie Cafe just a couple of months ago, and you guys said, what can we do? How can we get more involved? And I was like, want to host a Porch Fest party? And then they jumped at the chance. So thank you so much. We love working with you guys, and it's been a great partnership.
Thank you, Emma.
Yeah, well, I'll just second that. Thank you for everything. And I want to give a shout out to Amy at the Kellogg plant. I did, I live near, full disclosure for people watching, I live near the Kellogg plant, and I did sense an uptick in odor at a few points this summer, and Amy was always really responsive. And she and I actually went over to the River Roadhouse one afternoon and talked to the owner, and he's like, the odor's, it's not, yeah. So anyway, I do appreciate her being so responsive, and I do appreciate that she's got some signs up with the number to call. There used to be like some campaign-style yard signs with the odor hotline, and those have disappeared over the years, but she's been proactive about getting that number out there to people, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. She's fantastic. I will pass that along.
Okay, thank you. If nothing else from anyone, we will let you go on about your evening.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. You haven't gotten any messages from Gabriella? No? Okay. Okay, well then we will go on to the Clackamas County Community Action Board, and I think Councilor Khosrowbadi's gonna introduce this and the speakers that are here for this.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate this time here. Obviously, the Community Action Board is one of my committee assignments. I am currently the chair of that board. And we've been working on the needs assessment for quite some time now. And it's come together, and it's, initially in our meeting when we went over this, for me, it was very eye-opening to see the level of poverty, not just in Clackamas County, but really here in Milwaukie, especially in comparison to some of the other jurisdictions within our county. And currently, with that in mind, we've been focusing a lot on, or we're working a lot on, number one, outreach to marginalized communities, communities that have typically been maybe pushed aside or brushed aside, or maybe the impacts of policies have not considered what it's done to them. So we've been doing quite a bit of outreach there, and also doing a listening tour to as many municipalities in the county that are willing to listen and put us on the agenda in order to highlight not just the needs assessment, but what exactly it's causing, not only in our county, but as a result to, what it's causing to the jurisdictions within the county as well. So I don't want to take up any more time rambling. I do want to introduce Jennifer Muchgrun with Clackamas County, as well as Brenda Durbin, who is the director of H3S. Health, Housing, and Human Services. I got that right, huh? Yeah. Okay. I will pass it to. I have the pleasure of working with both of them regularly, and I've actually worked with Brenda on the Veteran Advisory Council as well. She's incredible. Jennifer is incredible. And with that said, I'll let the incredible people speak. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilor. Mayor Beatty, President Massey, members of the council. My name is Brenda Durbin. I'm the director of Clackamas County Social Services, so I'm not the department director, I'm just a division director. But thank you for that promotion, Councilor, I appreciate it. I'm here today with Jennifer Muchgrun. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Jennifer Muchgrun. I'm the Policy and Performance Analyst for Social Services, and get to work with Adam and the Community Action Board to bring interesting data to our work.
Great, thanks. So we both want to thank you for the time that you've given us this evening to discuss something that is unfortunately too prevalent in our communities, which is poverty. So just a little bit of background. 2024 marks 60 years since the passage of the Equal Opportunity Act. That act launched a variety of new federal programs that were designed to end poverty and address racial injustice. One of those programs that were developed way back when is Community Action. 2024 also marks 50 years since Clackamas County has served as the Community Action Agency for Clackamas County. We have a board, an advisory board that Councilor Khosrowbadi sits on and chairs. Through those 50 years, this part of the county government has really remained committed to the promise of community action. And that promise is that community action changes people's lives, embodies the spirit of hope, improves communities, and makes America a better place to live. We care deeply about the entire community, and we are dedicated to helping people help themselves and each other. I think it's a mission that we can probably all get behind. So in 2024, we developed an action plan for the work of community action to address the causes and conditions of poverty. And that plan reflects the lofty goals that were envisioned over 60 years ago. The plan focuses on increasing awareness about the current state of poverty in Clackamas County and programs that can help mitigate those impacts. We want to deliver accessible, equitable, and culturally responsive services. And we really want to cultivate a sense of belonging so that all community members and program participants experience support, inclusion, and safety when accessing community action programs. So through this work and through the great work of Jennifer Munchgrund, we delved deeply into the nature of poverty and how poverty is talked about and reported on in the United States. And we discovered some interesting new tools that help us describe what poverty looks like in our communities in a little different way. So Jennifer is going to take us through a deep dive of ALICE and explain sort of the concept of different ways to measure poverty and what it takes to get by in our communities. And also some specific information about your community, Milwaukie.
So as part of being a community action agency, every 3 to 5 years, we need to do a community needs assessment and engage our community in understanding what is happening in our community, what our residents are experiencing, and specifically looking at who is living in poverty. And we define poverty as lack of economic means to be able to meet your basic human needs. And often in our outreach, in our surveying and our focus groups with our residents throughout the county, we kept hearing from folks who were above the federal poverty level, which is what we hear a lot about, thinking of who's living in poverty, those who are at or below federal poverty level. We heard a lot from people who were above federal poverty level, but who were having to make really tough choices. They weren't able to afford their rent and pay for food and get the medication that they needed. They were struggling and having to make really tough decisions and were wanting help, but were not eligible for a lot of the services, did not qualify for assistance in our safety net. So as we did our needs assessment, we wanted to look at how do we define poverty in our communities and in our programming. And so we have basically a lot of programs use the federal poverty level as a standard for measuring who's eligible. If they don't use that, they often use the median family income or area median income. And so neither one of those is really capturing all of the people who do not make enough to meet their basic needs in our community. So we delved into how was the federal poverty level standard developed. And what we found was that the federal poverty level was established in 1964 based on the 1962 U.S. Department of Agriculture's economy food budget. So what is the very basic that a family would need for food? And they made the assumption that based on that budget, a family would spend a third of their income on food. And they built the federal poverty level around that. So a third on food and then 2/3 on all of the rest of your needs. And then they haven't really changed that measure. They just adjust it based on the consumer price index. And that's how it's gone up. And the concept of a third of your income going to food was based on a 1955 survey of families that determined that in 1955, families were spending a third of their income on food. The other thing about the federal poverty level is that it is standard across the United States. So what the federal poverty level is for us in Milwaukie is the same as for New York City, which we all know there's a big difference in what things cost depending on where you live and what you have access to. So just to look at the federal poverty level with a little bit of a different take, the 2022 Consumer Expenditure Survey found that families on average spend about 12.4% of their income on food overall. And even if we're breaking it down by income level, with those households that make $15,000 or less, the most that they're spending on average is 16.7% of their income on food, way different than a third. So if you use that 16% to determine federal poverty level, did I skip this? So for one person in 2023, for one person, if you made $14,580 or less, you are considered to be living in poverty. $14,000 for one person. I don't know who can live on $14,000 a year, but that's, you'd be considered on poverty. Anything over that, you're not living in poverty. If we use the calculation, instead of a third, we used 16.7% and built the federal poverty level on that, that would raise the federal poverty level to $25,500. So it would add almost, well, over $10,000 to that. So that's how skewed it is right now for just how people are having to spend their money. So we don't like the federal poverty level as a way to say who's struggling in our community or who isn't. And I think the more that it is out of line with what things actually cost, the fewer people actually, we see the poverty level going down. And in Clackamas, it hovers around 7% or 8% of the households living in poverty. And it's skewing down, but we know that there are more people in our community there that are struggling than that 8%. And so it gives kind of a false sense of, oh, we're doing okay. So next, if we look at the median family income, which is also used a lot for eligibility programs, especially around like our rent assistance program, you're at 80% or below of the area median income. Our utility assistance, I think, is 60% or below the median income. That is a better measure in the sense of catching the most vulnerable people in our community. But it doesn't really address the fact that so many more people are still struggling to pay the total cost of what it takes to live in Clackamas County. We get the most vulnerable folks, but if there's a large portion that are struggling to make those ends meet, doing a comparison thing just gets us the most vulnerable and leaves a lot of people out. And so we wanted to look at other methods for determining what it takes to live in our communities at a basic level, what it takes to meet those basic economic or basic needs. And so over the past 10 to 15 years, there have been a number of measures that have come out that look at what does it take to live? What is the budget that somebody needs to live in specific geographic areas like Clackamas County, down to that level. You have the MIT has come out with a living wage calculator. University of Washington has developed the self-sufficiency standard that also that was for federal work programs to see where do they need to get people up to earning to be self-sufficient, and there's been a number of other ones. The one that we chose to look at is called Asset Limited Income Constrained Employed, or ALICE, and it was developed by the United Way in New Jersey and has expanded to include, I think, over close to 35 states have regional boards that are working with local data to develop what they call a survival budget. What does it take to meet your very basic needs in specific geographic areas down to the county level? And it goes beyond food. It does look at food, but it also looks at what is the cost of housing? What's the very basic cost of housing? Childcare. How much do people have to pay for childcare? Transportation, and that's looking at if you live in an area that has a good transportation, what does it cost to do public transit? If the public transit isn't available, 1 car per household. What does it cost to have 1 car per household? What are the healthcare costs in that area? It allows in the survival budget, it allows a family to have a smartphone. So technology budget and a small budget for miscellaneous things. And it takes into consideration what kind of tax breaks that you are eligible for based on your household. And it looks at what is your household. All of the survival budget, each budget is based on who are you? What makes up your household? Are you a single adult? Are you a single adult who is an older adult? Because those two folks have very different needs as far as what their expenditure categories are. Are you a household of 1 adult and 1 child in care? What does it cost then? Or 1 adult with 1 kid in school who's school age? So it gives us a level of data for a budget to let us know what exactly it takes to live in our communities. So if we look at this slide here, we can see the first column, and I'm not sure if you guys have, yeah, you're looking at stuff up there. So for a single adult living in Clackamas County, to pay for the very basic survival budget that Alice has created, they need to make $47,772. That's way far away from the federal poverty level of $14,500. And so what Alice does is it captures the folks who are above federal poverty level, but below the Alice survival budget. Does that make sense? Right? And you can also see like for 1 adult and 1 child in child care, that is $76,900. So that's like a mom with a preschool child. And that's a lot of money to make to just meet your very basic needs. And these are very basic. This does not include eating out at restaurants. It doesn't include living in a super nice neighborhood in a super nice apartment. It's very basic. So it's emotional for me. So here's what, if we look at the income level based on 2022 wages. Okay, so for that 1 adult, 1 preschooler, federal poverty level says you can, to be living in poverty, you make $18,300 or less, you're living in poverty. Alice says you need to make $76,000 to meet your basic needs. That's a huge difference. In Oregon, if you're working a minimum wage job, you are making, that adult would be making, and working full-time, $32,000. Again, way far away from that $76,000 to meet those basic needs. And then if we also had, we looked at the job vacancies in Clackamas County. So what jobs were available? What was the average wage of those jobs? If the average wage, I think, was about $21 an hour, that would take you up to making $44,000 a year. Still way below what you need to make to be able to pay for childcare and pay for those basic needs. So when we are looking at what does that mean in Clackamas County? How many families are struggling in Clackamas County? we, like I mentioned, we have about 8% of our households that are living at or below federal poverty line. And you can see that that's remained pretty consistent over the years. 2010, it was 9%. 2022, 8%. That number does not change very much. 34% of our households in Clackamas County are above federal poverty level, below Alice survival budget. So a total of 42% of our households, that's 65,000 households in Clackamas County, are not making enough to meet their basic needs. And you can see in 2021, there was a dip. We had just 38% of our households were below the federal poverty level instead of 42. That dip was caused by the pandemic aid dollars that came into our community. And so you can see in 2022, we immediately started going back up because those dollars started going away. And we expect even more folks will be falling below the Alice threshold in years to come. Now, looking at percentages, you can kind of say, well, it's kind of stable, but what does that count look like? That's why I put this graph in here. You can see that the number, so we've grown a lot since, Clackamas County has grown a lot since 2010. The number of households, the increase in the number of households that are above the Alice threshold, that's grown by 1,600 households. That's good. We have more above. The number of households that are federal poverty level or below has actually decreased by 23 households estimated. But that the households that are Alice, those Alice households below the survival budget, above federal poverty level, we have an additional 16,000 in Clackamas County from 2010 to 2022. So we have more and more households that are not able to meet their needs. And of course, there are different subpopulations in our communities that are struggling more than others. So if we look at Alice percentages based on race and ethnicity, we find that Native American households, 60%, are below the Alice threshold. Black and African American households, 55%, are below the Alice threshold. And for our Hispanic Latino families, 54%. So those are the populations in Clackamas County that are struggling more as far as race and ethnicity is concerned. And then we look at some other factors. So householders in general that are, the householders under the age of 25, 78% of those folks are below the Alice threshold. The third column I have in this table that's the number of households that are below the Alice threshold in that category. Single female-headed households with children, 77%, and close to 6,000 households in Clackamas County are struggling to meet their basic needs. Single male-headed households also have a difficult time. Native Americans, Black African, Hispanic folks, and a big one, householders 65 years and older. And that's close to 26,000 households in our Clackamas County that are struggling to make ends meet. And then, of course, it varies by location in the county. So you can see on one end, Lake Oswego has about 30% of its population that is below, and the Alice threshold, Johnson City has the vast majority of their households below at the Alice. And Milwaukie falls a bit right in the middle there. And we'll go a little bit more into some specifics about Milwaukie in just a moment. The final piece that I want to show as far as Alice is concerned, the other thing that Alice has done is it's created an essentials index similar to the consumer price index. So consumer price index, federal poverty level goes off of that. Often cost of living increases go off of the consumer price index. The bottom line, the dark blue line, that's how the consumer price index, how the cost has increased since, I think it's 2007. Alice created an essentials index that takes out of the consumer price index those kind of luxury items that low-income families are not going to be able to afford. Jewelry, restaurants, eating out at restaurants, flights, some of those costs that low-income families can't even consider. It takes it out of the equation and just keeps in things like food, gas, the cost of a car, the cost of your health care. And you can see that the yellow line is how the Alice Essentials Index has increased over that same period of time. And there's quite a gap between the consumer price index, which we're using as our standard, and what our low-income families are having to pay, or, the items that the low-income families are having to pay for. And then the next line, the orange line, is the region. So that's how much the Alice Essentials Index has increased in the western region of the United States. And that top line is Oregon, and how much those essential items, the cost of those essential items have increased in Oregon. So our costs are increasing faster, not only from the consumer price index, but from other parts of the country as well. And so we know that more families, as that increase continues to happen, that more families are going to fall below that Alice threshold. We can look at Milwaukie now, just to give you guys that more in-depth look. Alice does not go down to the city level. And so if we look at Milwaukie, we're using the American Community Survey Index. We're working on the assumption that there are about 21,000 residents, about 9,200 households. We have that number that 52% are below. We do know that 52% are below the Alice Index. So that equates to 4,829 households in Milwaukie that are struggling and are earning below the Alice threshold for their household type. When we look at subpopulations, we don't get that data down to the Milwaukie level. So if we use the percentages that are for Clackamas County to calculate how many households that category, that subpopulation may be in Milwaukie, with Milwaukie numbers for those, you can see the number of households in those different categories that would be struggling. So about 1,265 households with householders who are 65 or above are below the Alice threshold. So this just kind of gives you a sense of how many households in that subcategory in your community that are struggling to make those ends meet. And so I wanted to also do, because Milwaukie is not a mirror of Clackamas County. So what these next few data points give you is maybe how your community might differ from the county as a whole. So this is looking at the percentage of households that are in your community. So these may look a little bit different if you're used to looking at the percentage of residents in your community that fit into these race and ethnicity categories. This is the percentage of households. And so Milwaukie. So it would look at, it would say, it's looking at who is the householder. So for example, it looks like there's a smaller percentage of Hispanic households, but Hispanic households tend to be larger, have more members. So you're going to have a higher, if you looked at residents, you would have a higher percentage of residents who are Hispanic, because you might have 5 people in that household compared to an Asian family that might have 3. So that's one of the differences. So this is just, and it's the household, it's based on the race or ethnicity of the main householder.
Sorry, and the householder is not the owner of the property?
No.
The householder is, how do they determine
So
that there's
the householder
two-
would be the person who answered the survey.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I got to be the householder. I got to answer this survey for the first time this year, and I was the householder, so I was very excited about it. And then added information about the other members of my household. So this is just one, gives you a look at what might be different between the Clackamas County numbers and your community. Another way to look at that is the median income for those different populations. So the orange is, what is the median income for Clackamas County? Blue is the median income for Milwaukie. So you can see one of the areas that you might not be as concerned about, that Clackamas is concerned about, is those householders who are under the age of 25. Because in Clackamas County, the median income is lower than what you guys have here. But householders who are 20 or who are 65 and older in Milwaukie, their median income is significantly lower than it is for the county as a whole. Does that make sense? Yeah, so that's just things for you to think about when you're looking at this data and kind of experimenting and exploring it a little bit more. The other thing, the last thing that I want to point out about Alice, which I really appreciate, is they're continually kind of developing more tools to allow people to look at this data. And they've created something that's called the Alice Economic Viability Dashboard. It gives us the opportunity to dig a little bit deeper than the county level. It gives us the opportunity to go down to the, the public use micro data area. I think it's called the PUMA. The PUMA. And the PUMA that relates to you guys includes Milwaukie, Happy Valley, and Oregon City. So it's not quite Milwaukie, but it shrinks it down a little bit from the county as a whole.
Well, and it includes all the unincorporated area in between?
Mm-hmm. In between those, yeah.
Oh, that's 100,000 people. That's a big chunk of Clackamas County.
Well, but it's better than 400,000 when we're looking at the county as a whole, right? It gets us down a little bit, like it's not perfect, but it gets us down a little bit closer. And it gives us the opportunity to look at a few other data points. So in this slide, the rent burden. So folks who are in the PUMA area who are below the Alice threshold, 21% are not rent burdened. They're not paying 30% or more on their housing cost. And 30% are paying between 30% and 50%. And then 49% of those folks who are below the Alice threshold are paying 50% or more on their housing. So that just kind of, it gives you a little bit more data that you can dig in a little bit. And for time purposes, I'm just going to flip through that to what I've included in this is some links where you can go and look at the ALICE data, play with the economic viability dashboard to look at some information around the workers that are in the community, the housing pieces, and some other data that they pull out about ALICE households that are below the ALICE threshold, just to give us a little bit deeper information. And for time, I'm going to turn it over to you. I can talk forever about this. So, and Alice uses, the sources that Alice uses are the sources, they come from the federal government. It's the US Census data. It's the data from HUD around fair housing, fair market housing prices. It's from the Agriculture Department about food costs, that kind of thing. It's all taken from those sources. And then and using their methodology to build those budgets and then to update that information every 2 years, every year to every 2 years, so that we can see what's happening in our communities.
Thanks, Jennifer. And just in closing, first I want to say, many of us have currently or in our past have lived on incomes below the ALICE measures, and we've figured it out. So I want to give many kudos to low-income folks in our community. They know how to figure it out. Creative, working with community. So these numbers can be sort of sobering. I just think one of the things that I take away from this data is that I think the numbers in ALICE are really sound. And we know that people do survive on incomes that are lower than the survival budget, but at what costs? Are they foregoing medication? Are they foregoing, opportunities to engage in the community because they have 2 or 3 jobs? What are households and is our community missing because people are so stressed? And that stress level is much higher than we would see if we just looked at the federal poverty level. So, what can we do about this? It's a lot of data. I really appreciate your attention. We've got a lot of numbers here, and we'd be happy to answer questions. A lot of this is sort of structural. Housing costs are very high. What can a city council do about housing costs? What can a city council do about food costs? Maybe not a lot, but there are, I think, creative ways to work around the edges. My colleague from the county, Greg, said earlier, they've got a low income benefit. $30 a month is a big deal for a lot of folks. How can we look at our public services, our transit services? Transportation is a huge cost for many households. Can we, decrease fare costs for certain populations? What can we do around the edges to make things a little bit easier, a little bit softer for folks, they don't have to spend so much of their time and energy focused on sort of getting through the day. A while ago, I read a report that said that living in poverty is like living with 4 hours of sleep a night. And we know how well we do when we don't get a good night's sleep. And imagine that day after day after day, and how that impacts your ability to plan long-term and address your basic needs when you're always in that stress. So Clackamas County provides a lot of services to folks who are struggling. I won't go through all of that. And we know that many people need our services and we're not able to serve them because our rules and regulations come from our funders, and our funders haven't quite yet adopted the ALICE measure. So most of our programs are looking at, 100% of poverty, maybe 200% of poverty if we're looking at a fairly generous program. So additional thoughts about next steps, if we could have the next slide, please.
Can I mention one thing?
Course, yes.
The other area that I think fits with what you were talking about with the Schellenberg and the bringing in training and exposing young kids to, we see that often income is tied to your level of education. But are there other ways that we can expose kids who maybe aren't college bound to opportunities to earn a living wage through programs like that and making those connections? So you were already doing it tonight. I just want to make that little, I just want to make that little point. Anyway. And there you go.
The county does host the Community Action Board. We are currently looking for members and are interested in bringing more community members into that. One unique thing about the Community Action Board is that we're required to have 1/3 of our membership be folks who are living in poverty. So that board is really focused on hearing directly from folks living in poverty so they can help inform our services. The Community Action Board advises the county social services on our programs that we operate to help people exit poverty. Board members participate in the development of the needs assessment and the strategic plan that we were just adopted. And we advocate for more programs so we can better serve our community. There are other ways to help sort of get this message out. We would be happy to share this presentation with other groups, with chambers of commerce, anyone who might be interested. And we're also very interested in reaching out to the community and hearing more directly from people who are impacted from poverty, particularly our communities of color who often experience poverty at a higher level, and many of whom have additional barriers to accessing the programs that might help alleviate their poverty. So we're happy to answer any questions that you have today. And again, we just really appreciate the opportunity to share with you and anyone who may be listening here more information about what poverty looks like in Clackamas County.
It is sobering, definitely sobering statistics. I assume you are connected with groups that are serving these populations, like the Clackamas Service Center, Love One,
Yep,
et
absolutely.
cetera. Okay.
Yeah.
Do people have questions or? Okay.
Yeah, the better question is, which of my questions will I prioritize so that you and I aren't here all night talking about this, because we would be.
Yeah.
This is amazing information. Thank you for being here. Thank you for serving on the CAB and for facilitating this conversation. So there are two things that came to mind for me in the presentation. One is around the concept of economic mobility and what that looks like in Clackamas County. And so economic mobility is the ability of individuals in a specific community to be able to move to another level of income earning over the course of their life. And there's another public facing data set called the Opportunity Atlas. Have you looked at this at all?
A little bit.
I would love to nerd out about this with you sometime if you're open to it, because I'm just pulling up, Clackamas County has very, very little economic mobility. Multnomah County, which is, like a stone's throw, has. So what we show, and the percentages, of course you have to like immerse yourself in the tool and kind of understand all of the data and everything. But Clackamas County has a 0.4% economic mobility rate, and Multnomah County has 3.5%. So what that means to me is that there are some really intense systemic barriers across all of the systems that people interface with in Clackamas County that we need to address at a jurisdictional level, in addition to providing services and resources at an individual level. So there's that, that individual level change, and then the population level change. Mm-hmm. And when we talk about economic mobility, we're really talking about that population level change and what we want to see for the future of Clackamas County, in the next 20 years. So the other thing that came to mind for me is community analyst data from Esri, which is the, spatial, they put all of the, all the big data sets in there and crunch it together. And a lot of times these data are available for purchase. And developers will use the tapestry data of all of this information to make decisions on where a new seasons goes or where Trader Joe's goes or things like that. And I think, taking into account the systemic needs of our communities, the trends that we're seeing, where we as jurisdictions want to interrupt some of these patterns, and using those data to our advantage that would be huge. So maybe we can follow up and have a conversation about how we bring all of this kind of together and look at, some of the trends. I'm thinking about people who are living at at or below the Alice level, who are making those trade-offs, like, you want to make sure that if you didn't have a good experience with Christmas presents, that your kid would have, enough joy in the holiday season or something like that. And so then you rely on credit cards. And those are predatory, in themselves. And so I'm kind of, I'm thinking about the things that that are compromised, the cost, the loss, the choices that families have to make, and then just the inherent stress and trauma and that all of our communities are experiencing. So anyway, the other thing that I wanted to ask is, the Coalition of Communities of Color just finalized their report on Clackamas County, and this is 4 years in the making. And where we started 4 years ago was a very different place in Clackamas County than where we're at right now systemically, and I won't ask you to comment on that, but, are there elements of that work that you would advise, local jurisdictions kind of blend in terms of the way that we approach these issues with an equity lens?
One suggestion would be to sort of look at the data. And what I like about this data is you can look at family composition, you can look at identity, you can look at, the communities, the community identity, and see if there are ways to craft policies that would specifically address some of the most egregious sort of challenges. We all know how important those first 5 years of life are. Yes. So it's really distressing to see the single parent struggling. And if there's one population we might want to focus on in terms of sort of the potential future impact, making sure that families with young children are able to meet all of their basic needs. This data shows that those households are struggling, and other data shows about the really importance of those first 5 years.
That makes me think about ACEs data. The adverse childhood experiences.
Yep.
And, that in itself is not a holistic measure of a community. You have to also take into account resilience and supportive factors that are available. But I think that trauma in early childhood of living in poverty and going without and how that is, that stress is transferred generationally is something huge that we need to be taking into consideration. So I'm going to wrap up, don't worry. I had a question about wages in this area for community-based organizations as service providers. I really worry about the lack of living wage and I mean, living and thriving, right, are two very different worlds. But what is the future of wages for folks that are providing the very services that our communities need? How are they being pushed out because they're not making enough?
I think that one of the real values, many values in the supportive housing measure was a mandate about living wages for the community-based organizations that are doing the services. You then create, we also have just an issue of workforce availability for that work. But the fact that a major funder is mandating certain income levels, I think is one way to change the game because, it's sort of like, when union members get a wage, the whole, that raises the wages of everyone. So maybe we'll see something like that with as some of the Metro supportive housing dollars flow through and sort of push some of those wages up. But there's high turnover in those CBOs, in large part because of low wages and lack of really good benefits.
Well, thank you for bringing this work to us tonight and for the work that you do every day. And I'll follow up with the rest of my questions, but look forward to the conversation.
We look forward to the conversations. Thank you.
Just to follow up on the wages question, I assume you know that there's a Clackamas County Children's Coalition group that's putting forth the paper on wages for childcare. Okay.
I think the other piece of data that we used in our assessment is the Oregon Employment Division does a review of all of the, not all, but, a survey of the vacancies for the year, of job vacancies in the county. Have you seen that? And kind of breaks that out in different categories. And what is the average wage of those jobs that are available? So in many ways, it is about what jobs, the mobility is about what jobs are available in Clackamas County, and are those wages going up? And are there jobs available that people can get in our communities that allow them to meet the survival budget?
Thank you. I don't really have a question, but the real thing. The thing about this was, number one, bring attention to this issue in Milwaukie. Number two, as we're getting closer to thinking about goals going into next year, what that looks like, because we have quite a few things with budget, revenue, these things. So I'm hoping that this really opens our eyes as to how much out of the box we have to think when it comes to revenue. Can't just max out taxes and say, okay, you guys pay for it. You can't. We can't just raise fees. We have to get creative. We have a real issue here of affordability. We've had that for a while. When you look at the year over year data and you see that Clackamas County has kind of hovered in that 30% area over the last 5 years, what that tells me is there's no mechanisms in place to push back when things get bad. We just basically do enough to keep it around that number. The only thing that brought that number down was a federal move, right? So county leadership in terms of our electeds may or may not be working on things. I'll go with the latter. And you're right, Brenda, what can cities really do? Well, I think that's the question that we have to answer, because if there's anything that we can do, we have to do something, right? And, Milwaukee's unique. We have 2 industrial parks. We could be bringing a lot better paying jobs to those parks. And it might take us council members to step outside of our roles of council members and go a little bit extra to reach out to these industries, reach out to these businesses, reach out to these, just like you were saying with the economic mobility, and find out what's it going to take to get these good paying jobs to come right here in Milwaukie. And then looking at our revenue generation, looking at our incentive programs, we had a discussion on our equity goals about right now, our utility bills aren't very equitable. The highest, users or polluters don't pay as much as the ones that don't use as much. So just really looking back and taking a look at Milwaukie as a whole and saying, hey, where can we move the needle, right? Where can we move the needle? And again, it's going to be tricky because we have a budget issue, right? We have to generate revenue. But again, we can't just slap it on the same backs of the people we're here to help. So I really hope that what this is going to do is get us to start thinking more innovatively, out of the box, and really start putting some metal to the grindstone on figuring out, what we can and can't do, as opposed to just saying, you know, typically or traditionally, this isn't something we do. We have to start thinking not typically, because this is kind of where we got, this is how we got here, and not traditionally and not so linear in order to solve these issues.
Other comments or questions? Guys are.
I really appreciate you adding color to the slides that you sent over ahead of this session. It would be really helpful to see these numbers. Like Councilor Kosorati was saying, this is really important as we think about what actions we take as a city and where we need to focus our time. And so even just yearly sending over an email, updating these numbers whenever you have them is super helpful. So thanks for all the work you're doing. And thanks, Councilor Kosorati, for bringing these folks in. Thank you.
I second those thanks to both of you, to you guys for coming and the data, and I assume we'll get the slideshow. It sounds like you got the slideshow. I didn't get the slideshow.
I'll share it to you guys.
Okay. I do have some follow-up questions, but I will save them and follow up individually. I do wonder, question I've wondered for 20 years, because we've known for 20 years the poverty guideline is out of whack. So why don't they revisit that? Why are we still using something that was based on such a crazy? I don't expect you to answer for the federal government.
I do know that they're, with Alice and with other, the Oregon policy, the center that we have here, one of the members at that center is on our regional board for Alice. I know that there are lots of different places all over the country that are pushing back on the federal poverty level to make changes, because it is so out of whack. They've been pushing for a good 10, 15, 20 years. So
Okay.
That's part of why we wanted to do these presentations, is to expand that understanding of what is poverty in our communities and who is struggling, and to help people get their thinking beyond the federal poverty level, because it just doesn't serve any of us.
Right. Well, thank you. We will count on Councilor Kosorati to let us know when there's something we need to weigh in on. But if there are, like later tonight, we're going to discuss a potential letter to the state on a climate issue. If there are places where we can help with messaging to the county commissioners or whoever the decision-making body is, please do let us know, because I think you have a group here who would like to help move the needle on some of this. A lot of it not being in our control, but yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we are going to go, we have one final proclamation, and so and then we will do public comment, and then we will take a break. So I want to invite up Gabriella and Mr. Tautu and another guest with him to talk about the Mid-Autumn Festival of the Vietnamese community of Oregon. We appreciate you making it. I know you've been running from Tigard to here, so.
Good evening, Mayor and the council members. I am Thao Từ, President of the Vietnamese community of Oregon. On behalf of my Vietnamese community of Oregon Board, thank you so much for your approval, recognizing the Vietnamese American Mid-Autumn Festival in 2024. This is not the first time I'm here. This is the second time I have been here to receive the special proclamation to show your support and your recognition, the special festival for not only Vietnamese Americans in the city of Milwaukie and the vicinity, but also the many children in our communities. Again, thank you so much for your time and your kindness. We will celebrate the Vietnamese American Mid-Autumn Festival on September 21st at Clackamas High School. And we would like all of you, if you have free time, feel free to come and join with us at 2 o'clock at Clackamas High School. You have something to say?
Thank you. Gabriella, did you want to add?
Thank you, Mr. Tu. I think we had some images on the screen of attending the previous festival as well. Yeah. And I think just next steps, we're ready to read the proclamation. I'd be honored to do it, or if Mayor Beatty wants to do it.
Please.
Would you like me to?
Go ahead.
Would you
Yeah,
please
of course.
read the proclamation?
Yeah, I can do that. I have 20 in front of me, so, okay, thank you.
You read it in Spanish earlier. Are you going to read it in Vietnamese now?
My paperwork's getting a little long. Okay. Whereas, after the end of the Vietnam War in 1975, the first Vietnamese immigrants came to the city of Milwaukie in the state of Oregon in search of opportunity and freedom, and bringing Vietnamese customs and traditions which have been passed down through generations. And whereas the Vietnamese American community has made substantial contributions to cultural, religious, political, and business life throughout the state of Oregon, including the city of Milwaukie. And whereas many Vietnamese Americans and other Asian families in the community will joyfully celebrate the Mid-Autumn Festival, also known as the Moon Festival and Festival for Children, the Vietnamese community of Oregon will celebrate with special foods and activities under the full moon on Saturday, September 21st.
Now, therefore, I, Lisa Beatty, Mayor of the City of Milwaukie, a municipal corporation in the County of Clackamas in the state of Oregon, do hereby proclaim the September 24th to 30th, 2024, we need to correct that, to be Vietnamese American Mid-Autumn Festival Celebration Days, a time for celebrating our Vietnamese neighbors and their contributions to our community. Thank you. I attended last year and it was lovely. There were some great music and artists and food and everything. And unfortunately, I will be out of town this year, but I think a couple of the other counselors, and maybe all of the other counselors, will make a stop into Clackamas High School this Saturday to visit the event, because it's a lovely event. I love the little girls who dance and all the singing, and yeah.
With us. Thank you so much, Mayor, for being with us last year. This year, you cannot make it. Hopefully, you will come back next year with us.
Yes, I will definitely try to do that. Okay, well, thank you. And
You're welcome.
have a good festival.
Thank you so much. I hope that you had a very successful meeting tonight. Good night, and hope to see you on September 21st at Clackamas High School.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And then we will go to community comments. I assume we have at least one person who wants to make community comments, so I will read my script. This is the part of the agenda during which council will hear community member comments regarding city business that is not already on the agenda. Before we begin, is there a follow-up from the September 3rd community comments, Ms. Sager?
Mayor Beatty, there were no community comments made at that last meeting.
Okay. For those in person who wish to speak, please submit a yellow comment card found on the table just inside the chamber door. If you are on Zoom, please use the raise hand reaction to alert staff that you wish to speak, and when instructed to begin, click the microphone option to unmute yourself. If you are telephoning in through Zoom and would like to make a comment, dial *9 to raise your hand. You may also submit a comment via email to ocr@milwaukieoregon.gov. Before you make your comments, please state your name and city of residence for the record. If you would like the city to follow up with you, please submit your contact information to ocr@milwaukeeoregon.gov. As council has other business items on the agenda this evening, speakers will be limited to 3 minutes each. Because information provided during community comments may be new, this is not the time for discussion, but the city manager will respond at the next council meeting to those comments that require follow-up. So we have Mr. Bernie Stout. Please come forward. And you have 3 minutes. Are you gonna? Okay.
Okay. Hi, I'm Bernie Stout. I live in Milwaukie, Oregon. I'm here to talk about the Monroe Street Greenway / Washington Street alignment, which has systematically been kept out for 10 years of any information to the people living along the Washington Street alignment. In my opinion, there was a contract written in 2014 going right up Monroe Street. In the past 10 years, it has evolved to 37th Washington Street, and up until Thursday, either Garrett or Ada Lane. The information has systematically been micromanaged since February. And in my opinion, the contract has been drastically altered without notifying the people along the route. I've tried to give the information to the people on Washington Street as the city would provide it, which has been micromanaged, and I've been made a liar. I've been told for 9 years that there were no sidewalks going to be put in. Now, all of a sudden, we got sidewalks on both sides. Well, in some people's opinion, it's horrible. In other people's opinion, in my opinion, with 600 people coming out of the 7 acres, it's a good deal. But I'm getting attacked because I'm lying to the people I'm talking to in the neighborhood based on the lack of information I'm getting from the city. Doesn't matter anymore because the door's slamming shut this Friday. I would like to see a continuance of some kind of a reach out to the community again here where it can be recorded and documented so that everybody's on the same wavelength and explain to the people what's happened. There was some really angry people Thursday night. And I felt bad because it's like the city's attitude is, well, we held these meetings and we checked off our lists and we did everything according to the book. But I've asked repeatedly Washington Street alignment be put on the notices. I talked to the latest person, Tanya Batty, I think her name is, a week before the notice went out to include Washington Street alignment. Monroe Street Greenway neighborhood, the September 12th. 10 years of that. So if you guys are happy with it, then I'll stay away and live with whatever happens. But I'll send you this and you can make sense of it if you want to.
Okay,
Do
thank
have any
you.
questions of me before I skedaddle?
I don't think we have any questions. I will note that today staff, in our work session, staff did present it as the Monroe / Washington Street alignment. Yeah, in our work session, our 4 o'clock meeting.
Within the closed group?
No, it's on YouTube. You can watch it.
Oh, okay.
It's the 4 p.m. work session.
All right.
Yeah.
It's hit or miss.
Yeah,
Thanks, I'll let you go. Thank you.
thank you. Okay, with that, I would like to take a 10-minute recess and we will come back at 8:55. Oh,
Wrong time zone.
oh. Mine says it's now 8:55, yeah? Okay, 9:05. I'm having trouble seeing that clock because of like reflection of lights and stuff. So 9:05. All right, we are back on air, and while we were on break, we had another resident who wants to speak during, so I won't bother to reread the script, but you have 3 minutes, Mr. Tar, if you'd like to come up. Please state your name and city of residence for the record.
Somebody left their chair here. That was the guy who just came in. Yeah, he just left it there. Oops. Sorry. Hi, my name is Dennis Tarr. I live on Monroe Street in Milwaukie, and I'm a 1963 Milwaukie High School graduate, and I've been all over the place, but what I want to get to the point was that at the corner of 37th and Monroe is somebody put a stop sign up at the top of the hill, which is great, but I have talked to the different police people, and I don't know if you guys can get any influence on that, but people go through that stop sign like they're not even there. And I came really close to getting hit the other day by somebody who rolled through it probably 40, 45 miles an hour, just down the hill through the hill. And the last thing I want to mention too, first off, thank you very much for an incredible city. Like I say, I grew up here and I love it. I've been all over the United States, living in different countries or states, et cetera, but I'm still glad to be back. And hope to see more of everybody here. But the other thing is there such a thing as any vehicle noise restriction? Because it is absolutely getting out of hand as they go up that hill on Monroe. It is that's all it. That's all I wanted to say. Keep it simple as that. You guys are doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. And so the stop sign you're concerned about is 37th and Monroe, not 37th and Harrison?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Oh, when you talk about the stop sign itself, the stop sign is set a little bit off the street, which it should be, of course. Mm-hmm. But it could be, like I've seen some places where the stop sign is not in the center of the pole, but to the left of the pole, so it's further into the street, because that's what happened when I almost got hit. There was a truck parked right in front of that stop sign, so the person had no idea there was a stop sign there. And of course, I knew it was, and luckily I looked because he'd have nailed me, so that's all. Thank you.
All right.
I almost got hit yesterday.
Our city manager will respond and give us an update on that stuff next meeting. Thank you. Go Mustangs. Okay, so with that, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Tonight's consent agenda includes minutes of the City Council August 6, 2024 work session, August 6, 2024 regular session, August 12th, 2024 site visit, a resolution authorizing an intergovernmental agreement with the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde for the implementation of a first fish herons artworks project at Milwaukie Bay Park. Woohoo! A resolution supporting healthy pollinators and adopting Bee City USA commitments. I guess I should say woohoo there too. A resolution acting as the local contract review board, authorizing an increase in the project authorization for the engineering services for the Washington Street Area Improvements Project. No woohoo. A resolution acting as the local contract review board, authorizing an increase in the project authorization for the Stanley Water Reservoir Project. Does any council member wish to remove a consent agenda item? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve consent agenda as presented.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say no. None heard. The consent agenda is unanimously approved. And now we move to council reports. Who has a council report they'd like to give?
Greg gave mine.
Greg gave yours, okay. Greg and the cab, they gave both your council reports tonight. Oh. Start there. Okay, I'm being told to start at this end. Council reports?
Down here. Hi. Well, a couple weeks ago, we had a brief but good conversation about the short-term rent assistance project that we sent a city-led grant initiative to Clackamas County for. So I just wanted to add a couple more things in that, because what we're doing behind the scenes right now is trying to put the frame together around this. So the application was to provide some short-term rent assistance and housing stabilization support for families before they get to the point of going through an eviction process. And as all of the council and hopefully those viewing at home know, the Clackamas County offers housing assistance or coordinated housing assistance hotline. So you can call the CHA line. But this would actually happen before you get to that point, and it would be for Milwaukie residents in two populations. So the first population is for seniors or elders within our community, and the Alice information that was presented tonight was amazing to look at the housing instability or the just financial or economic instability that is impacting that population. So for that population, you would need to be a resident of the city of Milwaukie, so within the city boundaries. The second population is families who have a student in Milwaukie schools. And this is the piece that that the mayor was bringing up at our last regular session. And so that prompted me to look into this a little bit more. So for elementary schools within not within the Milwaukie city boundaries, but for students of Milwaukie that attend elementary schools, there's Ardenwald, Llewellyn, Linwood, Milwaukie, Oak Grove, View Acres, and Whitcomb. And so that some of those, the physical building is outside of the city, but students from the city attend that building. So that poses an interesting question because the intent behind this and selecting this population was to really say, you know, the stress and the disruption that happens in a family when you know, bills are overdue, you're behind on rent, you might have to move, all of those sorts of things that trickles into the life of a young person and to their ability to remain stable and connected at school. So we wanted to make sure that we had those protections in place, but in the instance where you know, like, for example, Oak Grove Elementary, where the mayor brought that up, there are Milwaukie students who go to school there, might be in the exact same class as another student who's struggling from, you know, similar issues going on in their house. And so, you know, we were trying to figure out, you know, kind of where do you stop? And so that actually brought me to the catchment areas for our two, you know, Milwaukie-ish high schools, right? So Milwaukie, woo, go Mustangs, and Rex Putnam, where a lot of students also attend, you know, and that's the feeder for Alder Creek, Oak Grove, you've got View Acres, Billquest, a few other schools. So I set up a meeting with the McKinney-Vento team with the school district. And so that's the student and family services team that connect with families, they connect with the social workers that are in the schools. They're amazing, by the way. They're located at the Wichita Center. We had a great conversation and they would like to help along with the social workers at the schools in the school district to narrow down the list of schools that would be eligible for this program. So what I'd like to send around to council are these two resources. One looks at the elementary schools and how they intersect with the boundaries of the city. And then the other one is the catchment list for Milwaukie and for Rex Putnam. And hopefully, between the conversation with folks that are working in the schools and insight from council, then we might be able to get to a point where we have an actual list of schools, and then that becomes the eligibility list for folks. And the idea, being that even if someone's living just outside the city of Milwaukie, but they go to a school and that they have that sense of community and they call Milwaukie home, if the catchment area also intersects with Milwaukie students and where they go to school, then that they would be included. We're surrounded by urban unincorporated pockets to our east and to our south, and so there's not a similar opportunity as of yet for a grant like this from the county for those populations. And I think at least until there is, it makes sense for us to provide some supports for families that are experiencing this instability, because they come to our farmers markets and they have a sense of the concerts, and they have this connection to the city, not just the schools. So I guess that's kind of where I'm at with things in terms of the additional research around schools. I'd like to send these 2 resources around to council, and then if you could give me your feedback individually, don't reply all to the email. And I have a meeting that is set up with the McKinney-Vento team and the Clackamas Service Center on the 30th. And so then I would be able to report back in my October 1st report as far as what the final list would look like. And then the other piece that hasn't really come up, because we've spent a lot of time talking about what the housing support in this program would look like, but this also gives us an opportunity to expand on food boxes that go out through the Clackamas Service Center. Last year, they were able to serve 350 families, households in Milwaukie. And so we're hoping to be able to expand that because food insecurity is such a big concern as well. So we've been having some good conversations there. I mentioned this in our study session, but I'll mention it again now. The Clackamas Service Center is hoping to have their grand opening of their annex on the 4th of October at 10 in the morning. The only thing that might change that timeframe would be the construction schedule that they're on. And so if that gets pushed out, then they're looking at the 11th. But what they'd like to do is partner with us to make the announcement of this program at that event. And they'd like to have someone speak from the city. And so I'd like to just arm wrestle the mayor to try and figure out which one of us would be.
I think you can speak. You've done the heavy lifting here, so.
Well, thank you. I defer to your seniority of and rank, but I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk about why this is so important. So anyway, I'm open to questions, but that's the only report that I had for this evening.
So I was really surprised to hear that there are kids who live in Milwaukie who go to View Acres, I guess, and Lot Whitcomb, although mostly more so View Acres. So I'll be curious to see those maps. Thank you.
It was produced by the city of Milwaukie.
Okay. Any other questions for Councilor Stavanger? Okay.
No, not at the moment. So I was just putting when that.
Oh, yeah. I can send that around in my email too, so that you have the details and the location and everything.
Go ahead.
The Watershed Council meets tomorrow night, but there is something I wanted to share. As you may recall, the city is in a partnership for a pilot project where they installed electric vehicle chargers on a number of utility poles. I think it's 3, is that right? 3 to start. And so it was really took a long time through various technical challenges. So I got to know the PGE crews real well. And so they finally got them.
One happens to be
across the street from me. Yeah. And so at any rate, they got them operational and we finally got around to painting no parking except for EVs there. So they're actually open now. I'd like to report they're actually being used. So that's what we're trying to get. I looked out there the other day, and there was a group of like 20 or 30 people around this pole. And I said, oh, I got to find out what this is about. Because I knew that one of the PGE guys there, and he said that and I talked to some of these other people, they were from all of these other utility companies around the state. And they were there to find out about this pilot project and how it worked and everything like that. And so that was interesting. Some of the work that's being done here might be exported elsewhere. But the thing that was really interesting that I found out is that between the hours of 3 and 8 are considered the high demand hours, okay? And so if you plug in there, you're going to pay whatever the market rate is per kilowatt hour. But if you plug in any other time, it's a $3 flat fee, no matter how much you charge.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, that's like our electric.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's that? The hum of electric.
No, it's after 8. Okay, awesome. Counselor Anderson?
Not much to report on my end. One thing for our TSP, on Saturday, the 28th, the TSP is doing a meeting where they're doing a survey of different road conditions across multiple neighborhoods. So if you or anyone else you might know wants to participate in that, they're looking for volunteers Saturday, the 28th, I think at 10 a.m. But I can send that out to council for you to send it along. For the TSP, they're doing a survey of road conditions. So
they're just dividing up into different neighborhoods.
Different neighborhood crews and doing that. Yep. The one last thing related to the other lane that I do, on October 1st, we're having a Hubs conversation. What I would encourage you to do is think about, are there components of Hubs Phase 3 that you think are really important or ideas that you have? Feel free to send them to me in an email or sit down with me so we can include them on the agenda for the 1st or think through that too. So have that in the back of the mind.
Okay. All right. I had one report and then I have one letter that I emailed everybody that we need to consider. So my report is today, Joseph and I were part of a group that toured 3 Metro councilors around the Kellogg Dam and walked up into town and into the bridge to look at the impoundment. Emma and I had done the same tour a couple weeks ago with three different Metro councilors. So now all the Metro councilors, except the chair, have been to Kellogg Dam and seen it. And I think it was a really good experience. And Neil Schulman from the Watershed Council really, pulls together a good team to give a good overview. And Dr. Leslie King, who came and spoke to us with him last spring, was part of that. I'm hoping to have her come back at some point and give us a talk on environmental justice, not just the Kellogg Dam, but sort of more broadly on environmental justice. Representative Gamba was there, different, they were good talks, and I'm hopeful that they will help us secure some money toward getting the dam removed. So they were really good sessions. I sent you some notes on a couple of other things recently, including the launch of that report that was referenced earlier tonight about the belonging in cultivating belonging, I think it's called, in Clackamas County. I won't belabor that here, but it's an interesting report, and I encourage people to take a look at it. And with that, Scott has my letter on the climate protection program. I sent this around Sunday night, I believe. I hope people got a chance to look at it. I did hear from Counselor, so if you scroll toward the end, Scott, I did hear from Counselor Anderson a couple of concerns, and one of them to me is an easy one. So that last long paragraph, we would like to underscore. he pointed out that saying AKA natural gas is sort of part of what is done to greenwash the, methane, and that we didn't need that. And, at first I was reluctant because I was thinking about a public audience, but this is an audience of people at DEQ. They don't need us to tell them that methane is also known as natural gas. So I'm fine with striking that. So, pardon?
It's not even natural.
It's not even natural, not in a lot of times. And then I think Councilor Anderson maybe had another comment or two.
Yeah, we scroll up to number 2. Let's see if it's under number 2. Nope, sorry, number 1. Bait and switch. Down a little bit. Yep.
The end of number 1, yeah.
So, in addition, some of the companies seeking from there until the question mark at this proposal. I think my only hesitation is it was pretty bold language, and I think it's fine to be bold. But the question is this the tone that we want to set as the city in our letters that we send out, and kind of like the standard that we set for each other going forward? And I think
It's 2 sentences, basically.
yep, right there.
Yep.
Thank you. Sorry about that, Scott. But if we feel fine striking this tone, I think the substance of what's said there is fair. But I think the tone was the only thing that caused me to pause. So at the same time, I think it's fair to say, I think it's fair to adopt that tone. But I just wanted to make sure.
One, I don't have a strong feeling either way. So if people feel like it's too strident, I'm okay with removing it. I do think, yeah. I'll leave it at that. I'm fine with striking it if people feel like it's too strident. I had some other language later in the letter about how Northwest Natural threatens lawsuit. And so cities are unable to act, or and why it was important for the state to act, which I was convinced to strike out of the letter. But anyway, views.
I would say I'm kind of ambivalent. We leave it in, we take it out, but I just want to be intentional about the fact that we're doing it if we are. So if we leave it in, I'm totally fine. If we take it out, I'm totally fine. But it does feel like a little more of a biting tone than maybe the rest of the letter.
I mean, is there anything about it that's not true though?
That's what I was saying earlier, yeah.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, me too. I like it.
Don't forget to turn your mics on.
I'm okay with it.
Councilor Stavin Jordan?
I don't have strong opinions either way on this.
All right, well, I'm hearing a few, I'm okay with it, so I guess we'll stick with it. I mean, everyone else is, yeah. Okay. Other comments on the letter from anyone? All right, is everybody okay with having their signature appended to this letter? I drafted it to be everybody.
Okay.
Okay, well, we will, I put tomorrow's date on it because I didn't want anybody to worry about doing it tonight. So, yeah, I'll follow up with Scott tomorrow and get a cleaned up version and on letterhead and everything, and we'll get it into the CPP or the DEQ. I think I put in my email, but there is a public hearing on the 26th. If anyone wants to testify, I'm told you only get 2 minutes. They don't even get 3 minutes. But it is at this address in Northeast Portland over by Lloyd Center, so it doesn't mean going to Salem if you want to testify. I think they also take Zoom testimony, so that's there if anybody is inclined to call in and testify or go and testify. All right. Anything else before we still have an MRC meeting, but anything else for this meeting? Okay. After the regular session, council will convene as the Milwaukie Redevelopment Commission. For those watching on Zoom and YouTube, the MRC meeting will be on the same Zoom session and YouTube video as the council meeting. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion to adjourn.
I second that motion.
It's moved and seconded that we adjourn the regular session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None heard. Regular session is adjourned. Now, I call the Redevelopment Commission meeting to order. This meeting is being conducted in person at City Hall and by video conference. The public may participate in this meeting by coming to City Hall, joining the Zoom webinar, or watching on the city's YouTube channel or Comcast cable channel 30 in city limits. Mr. Stauffer, if there's nobody on Zoom, I won't go through with reading the rest of the script. Okay. Okay, we have minutes to approve. Is there any discussion regarding the September 3rd, 2024 commission minutes? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the September 3rd, 2024 Redevelopment Commission meeting minutes.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the September 3rd, 2024 Redevelopment Commission meeting minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say no. Minutes are approved. All right, Mr. Brilio,
Good evening,
wearing his third hat of the day.
Chair and Commission. I do not have a PowerPoint. This is going to be quick unless you don't want it to be. It's up to you. So I'm here tonight as the Executive Director of the MRC to just give you a quick update on the business assistance grants and how that's been going. So as of August 1st, we officially launched the program. And since then, I've received 4 applications, all downtown businesses, and I'm currently working with each of them to complete their applications and then hopefully get them funded. In addition to that, we've had at least 12 or so businesses show interest, and I would guess by the end of this year, I'll see at least 3 or 4 more applications come across my desk. Not all are in the downtown, but most are. There's quite a few that are showing some interest around the Milwaukie marketplace right now as well. Outside of that, I'm happy to answer any questions, but I don't have a bunch of data points yet because this program's just about a month old. But I intend to not only circle back with the MERCAC and talk about kind of where things might need to get throttled and as far as numbers and what issues and what businesses are really looking for. I would like to circle back with them and then bring that back to the MRC if there are changes that are needed. Otherwise, if the feedback is all businesses are pretty excited, and for the most part, I think they will if they're receiving grant dollars. But from what I'm gathering initially early on is that there is definitely a higher need for tenant improvement dollars than storefront improvement dollars, just because those are such high cost items right now. When you're talking about redoing a kitchen, for example, in a restaurant, that money goes fast. So that's, if I'm reading the tea leaves on where things are going, that's my guess. Otherwise, that's my quick update. All the application, the overview, marketing materials is all in your packet. And I see the geese are flying. So.
The geese.
Please go ahead.
The geese have not been taken and eaten in Milwaukie, but they are on the dais. I've had no credible accounts of geese being abducted and eaten in Milwaukie, just to be sure. I think the goose on my right was up first, so I'll call on Councilor Koster-Body.
We might need Chief Burdick to come in and give us a report on missing geese. Anyway, Chief. My question is just from earlier.
Yeah.
It's a great program. And the reason I had that question is I actually talked to Sierra Cook down at Spoken Word.
Same here. Yep.
And it's putting them in a bind to not be able to go retroactive farther than January 1st, which I thought we had a meeting where we were going to go far. I thought we were going to go like a year back.
So initially, we proposed a year back as a retroactive. At the March meeting, that the consensus was that that seemed too long. So we throttled it to 6 months, and we started in August 1st, and we figured January 1st would be a good in between.
Is it not possible to go back to?
It's certainly possible.
Because I'll tell you, talking to her, she said that if they aren't able to do that, they're so stretched thin right now that they might not even be able to hang on. So not having that grant is going to make a huge difference for that business. So, I mean,
my question would be, hopefully, if there is that direction to extend that retroactive look back, is that it actually meets that need? Because I don't know when they did their improvements at this point too.
She said if it was to go back to July or June of last year, which is what she thought it was going to be, then it makes a difference from them just barely getting by or them staying around for longer.
I've had plenty of conversations with Sierra, actually planning on meeting her or them later this week.
Nice.
To confirm though, going back to June or July would be more than a year from when the grant program officially rolled out, correct? Because it rolled out August 1st, 24. So if we're going back, if you want to go back a year, you're going to go back to August 1st, 23.
Right.
So if we need to go back to June, you're actually talking a 14-month rollback.
Start of the fiscal year.
And you had that conversation just recently?
Sandra, do you want to follow up with that?
I do have a couple of comments about this.
Go ahead.
I think I remember that conversation a little bit differently. I don't know that we had consensus. I think that there was an objection to going back further than 6 months. I'm happy to go back and watch the video, but I am in favor of going back. And so as the chair of the committee that designed this process, the committee was interested in at least a 1-year look back at the time that the committee finalized the parameters for the program, which if we go back to that meeting and then a year back from that point, I think that's
23.
closer to the intent of the discussion in the committee meeting. And then I would like to underline my support for that rollback. And I believe that I articulated that in our previous meeting. I don't think that we were at consensus to go for 6 months. That's all I wanted to add.
Okay, Councilor Anderson?
I would echo what we've heard so far. Doing a longer rollback, I think, would be valuable. It's good to have a first follower when it comes to economic development, and I want to reward the folks who've been making those investments in our downtown. A question about the application. It's 12 pages long, and it seems really burdensome, just the length of the application alone. Are all of those questions really necessary? Are there ways that we can reduce the burden of the application? Or you could tell me that all 12 pages are necessary.
I would say let's not mess with it if it seems to be working so far and it provides good information from a staff level perspective. If I hear that it's burdensome, then happy to have that conversation. But
I just want to add on to that, you know, Joseph modeled all of this on existing or other cities that have similar programs. He did an excellent job bringing in those examples, working through our procurement team and our legal team for that review. So there is lots of rationale behind everything that went in there. And given that right now, I mean, thank you guys have approved us hiring an economic development coordinator or program manager. That will probably not happen until the holidays. So right now with one person, I really appreciate the lift Joseph's gone through together to here. And I agree, 12 pages is long, but I think I back Joseph on that. Let's roll with this. And it's great to see them rolling in. You know, it's only been up for a little over a month, and to have 4 almost ready to go out the door is quite heroic, I think, so.
So you are able to, you are able to cut the check as soon as they meet the criteria, sort of.
well, we have to go back and forth on the grant agreement and make sure that they are aware of all the requirements going forward, because they do have some reporting they have to do over the next year. And I'm in a few stages with businesses that are looking at grants, so we're close to signing, and then cutting a check is not far off from that.
So the four you have are all looking at future expenditures as opposed to looking back? Nobody's looking back?
No, I do. I am,
Okay.
yeah, speaking with one that is a look back.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And if we rolled back to the date that Counselor Savinger proposed, which was a year back from the MRC-CAC, how many more businesses do you think would qualify?
I don't know off the top of my head. I mean, there's definitely one that comes to mind.
Yeah, I have no objections to this, but I just want to make sure that we go in clear-eyed, that whatever we decide on, what the retroactive start date is, I think that just really has to be it, and no more changes. You're looking quizzical.
Oh, that wasn't my proposal.
Yeah, I know. I understand. I just want to make sure that 2 weeks from now, we don't come in and say, somebody else is being stretched because it's not 18 months,
But the original proposal or the original, I'm not trying to change it. I'm going off of what we originally were supposed to do. It got changed somewhere in between there, and I don't remember voting to cut it to 6 months.
Yeah, that's not the issue. The issue that I'm saying is that if we're establishing a retroactive start date, that we agree that that is the start date and we don't revisit it, because I think that that's just a slippery slope.
So I hear what you're saying, and I want to clarify that that's not my proposal.
Yeah, I understand.
What I'm trying to represent this evening is the conversation that occurred in the advisory committee to our redevelopment commission. And the conversation that happened there was, it has taken a while for us to get these tools up and running and being able to release them. That in the meantime, some businesses have taken they've taken the leap to invest in our city and place their businesses here. And the committee believed that it was a helpful addition to the tools that were available to have a retroactive period. I think this is not criticism on you at all, Joseph, that the time from that committee meeting to the time that we're able to roll out the applications, it just is what it is. But I think, short of reconvening the advisory committee, to actually give input on what their thoughts were, and I'm not proposing that either. I feel like I have the responsibility to reflect the intent around that conversation. So that's what I'm bringing up.
Yeah, it seems like, there was not consensus, but I'm hoping that we build consensus here tonight. And so, but I just kind of want us to go into this with the idea that there is a start date based upon what you just described.
So what is that start date?
Yeah, good question.
I'd probably agree with Councillor Massey that we should set it back to 2016 when we founded the Uvalde District. I kid, but I think from what Councillor Savinger was saying, there's consensus around February of 2023, around when they first discussed the proposal. Would you say?
So when we had the advisory committee meeting, it seemed that group had consensus around at least a year. That felt pretty solid.
Yes.
And then I can't remember honestly when that last meeting was, but we can go back and we can look at the record.
Pretty sure it's February.
So from that point to then when the concept and when the development of the tools came forth to us is a considerable amount of time. And so, if we were fully staffed and no one had to wear multiple hats at all, then, we'd be able to put something out in a shorter period of time. And I just think it's true to the intent of the committee, that the snapshot in time that they were reflecting on and the businesses that have invested in the downtown area specifically, downtown and I believe some of the marketplace, those were at the forefront of their minds in the conversation.
Do you need a motion to move back or?
No, this is just programmatic.
But we do,
We
I
should
think,
take a vote.
we need to see, I think we do need to walk away from here with that clear direction.
Yeah.
So move to February.
So then that would be what, February of
23.
22,
23.
23? Okay.
Or we could do Jan 1. I mean, I'm open. I do remember the meetings with the MRCAC. It definitely was at least a year, for sure. And I'll apologize if I misunderstood the direction that was given by the MRC, because it definitely didn't seem like there was clear direction. Okay. So again, happy to settle that tonight and put it to.
And per the calendar, I believe your MRCAC meeting occurred in late January. So I think for clean purposes, my recommendation would be you go back to Jan 1, 23.
Okay. Then I move that the time period for the look back on the applications be set at set back to January 1st, 2023.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Great. I will make those changes tomorrow morning. That's it. That's my update.
I want to end on a positive. Not that wasn't positive, but I think this is really exciting. And I don't know if you guys go on Milwaukie Chit Chat, but it's fun whenever you see things pop up there, because I feel like that's the real bellwether of what's happening in the community and what's getting out of these hallowed halls and into the actual community. And people are really starting to talk about this. So this is super exciting. The things that have come in through those first 4 proposals are really, I think, going to make a difference. I'm excited about the look back too, because I think you're right. There's been great momentum happening on Main Street and in the URA for a while now, and it's great that we'll be able to support those business owners. But just again, my deep gratitude and appreciation to Joseph for his leadership on this.
I move to adjourn the commission meeting.
A second.
Oh, I think you got to turn your mic.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn the Milwaukie Redevelopment Commission meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say no. None heard. The meeting is adjourned.
No extension of clock?
Yep.